The grand hall of Nexus Prime stretched across 3 kilometers of polished crystal and floating platforms. 15 species sat in their designated sections, each representing civilizations that had mastered space travel thousands of years ago. At the center podium stood Vexthor, a tall reptilian creature with scales that shimmered green and gold under the artificial lights. His voice carried authority as he addressed the council. "We gathered today to discuss anomalous signals from the Terran sector," Vexthor announced. His words translated instantly into 15 different languages through neural implants. "Our sensors detected mathematical patterns and what appears to be artistic expression. Some believe this indicates intelligent life." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Several delegates leaned forward with interest while others sat back with skeptical expressions. A floating hologram appeared above the center of the room, displaying wave patterns and sequences of numbers. "This is obviously a natural phenomenon," declared Daleks, a warrior from the insectoid Kreeth Empire. His mandibles clicked together as he spoke. "The universe creates patterns constantly. Random chance explains these signals perfectly." "I disagree," said a younger delegate from the aquatic Tileran species. "The mathematical sequences follow prime numbers. Nature does not create such specific patterns." Vexthor raised one clawed hand for silence. "Our xenoanthropologists have studied these signals for 6 months. Their conclusion is unanimous. Either these signals are elaborate hoaxes created by bored explorers, or they are natural cosmic phenomena. The sector in question surrounds a yellow star with several planets. The third planet from the star has been flagged in our databases as completely incompatible with intelligent life." The hologram shifted to show a blue and green planet rotating slowly. Data scrolled beside it in glowing text. Vexthor continued reading from the ancient survey report. "Gravity 40% above galactic standard. Atmospheric composition dangerously high in oxygen. Tectonic activity that produces frequent earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. Weather patterns that generate storms with winds exceeding 200 kilometers per hour. Ocean coverage of 70% with predatory life forms throughout. Land surface dominated by aggressive megafauna and hostile plant life. Conclusion: unsuitable for colonization or intelligent development." "Then these signals must be fake," Dallas insisted. "No species could evolve civilization on such a death world." "Agreed," Vexthor said with finality. "This matter is closed. We have more important issues to address." Far from Nexus Prime, hidden behind a moon in an empty system, a sleek black vessel hung motionless in space. The ship bore no markings, and its hull absorbed sensor scans rather than reflecting them. Inside the cramped observation deck, Commander Hyunwoo studied multiple screens showing live feeds from Nexus Prime. "They dismissed us again," said the young woman sitting beside him. Lieutenant Minji had been monitoring council transmissions for 3 years. "They think we are myths or pranks." Hyunwoo nodded slowly. His weathered face showed no emotion, but his eyes tracked every detail on the screens. At 47 years old, he had spent half his life in military service. The last 3 years had been the strangest assignment of his career. Watch the aliens and learn everything possible without being detected. "Good," Hyunwoo said simply. "The longer they ignore us, the more time we have to study them. What have you learned about their military formations?" Minji pulled up tactical displays. "They fight using computer algorithms. Every ship follows predictable patterns based on optimal efficiency calculations. They are advanced but rigid in their thinking. Predictable enemies are easy to defeat," Hyunwoo observed. "But we are not seeking war. We want peace." A communication alert chimed. Hyunwoo accepted the encrypted transmission. The face of Ambassador Tae-young appeared on the screen. The diplomat looked tired but determined. "Commander, I have convinced our leadership to attempt formal first contact," Tae-young said. "The council will receive our petition at their next gathering in 2 weeks. I need your ship to escort our delegation." Hyunwoo considered this carefully. "Are you certain? They have rejected every indirect approach. A direct meeting could be dangerous." "Everything worth doing carries risk," Tae-young replied with a slight smile. "Besides, we cannot hide forever. Humanity must take its place among the stars eventually. Better to do it on our terms. Understood. We will be ready." Hyunwoo ended the transmission and turned to Minji. "Prepare the ship. Alert Captain Subin that we are going active in 2 weeks." News of the decision spread quickly through human command. On Earth, deep beneath the surface of Geneva, Dr. Jiwan reviewed data in her laboratory. The xenobiologist had spent 10 years studying alien cultures from a distance. She knew more about the 15 council species than they knew about each other. They will not take us seriously, her assistant Young Ho said. The physicist had been calculating probability outcomes all morning. Based on their historical responses to new species, they will view us as primitives or laboratory curiosities. Then we must show them otherwise, Jiwan replied. She was only 32, but had already published groundbreaking research on comparative evolution. We survived Earth. That alone proves we are stronger than they realize. Strength might intimidate them rather than impress them, Young Ho warned. The Council values technological advancement and philosophical development. Physical capability ranks low in their civilization metrics. Jiwan smiled. Then we show them all three. Our technology may seem primitive compared to theirs, but it works under conditions their equipment cannot handle. Our philosophy embraces change and adaptation rather than rigid adherence to tradition. And our physical capabilities? Those might save their lives someday. You think they face threats? Young Ho asked. Every civilization faces threats, Jiwan said. The universe is vast and dangerous. The Council has been comfortable for too long. Comfort breeds complacency. 2 weeks later, the human delegation arrived at Nexus Prime aboard the HTSS Aegis. The ship measured only 300 meters long, tiny compared to the massive council vessels that surrounded the station. Its hull was reinforced steel and composite materials rather than the energy-based shields the Council preferred. To alien sensors, it looked ancient and crude. Inside the ship, Ambassador Tae-young adjusted his formal suit one final time. Beside him stood Dr. Jiwan, carrying data tablets containing humanity's gifts to the Council. Commander Hyun-woo wore his military dress uniform, medals gleaming on his chest. Captain Subin remained on the bridge, ready to act if the meeting turned hostile. Remember, Tae-young said to his small team, we are not here to threaten or boast. We simply request recognition and the opportunity for peaceful cooperation. And if they refuse, Hyun-woo asked quietly, then we return home and try again later, Tae-young replied. Patience is a virtue humanity learned long ago. The airlock cycled open. Human boots touched alien metal for the first time in history. Station security, a mixture of species wearing standardized armor, watched the humans with obvious curiosity. Some whispered among themselves, pointing at the humans' bipedal form and lack of natural weapons. A protocol officer, a tall being with purple skin and forearms, approached the delegation. You are the Terran representatives? The translator made its voice sound neutral and professional. We are, Tae-young confirmed. Thank you for granting us this audience. The Council finds your request amusing, the protocol officer said bluntly. Follow me. Try not to touch anything. Your primitive biology might contaminate our equipment. Jiwan and Hyun-woo exchanged glances but said nothing. They followed the protocol officer through corridors filled with wonders. Gravity shifted smoothly as they walked, adjusted automatically for comfort. Walls displayed constantly changing art from 1,000 worlds. Other species passed by, some stopping to stare at the strange newcomers. Finally, they reached the Grand Hall. The sight took their breath away despite their preparation. Thousands of delegates filled the floating platforms. Technology beyond Earth's current capability surrounded them. At the center, Vex Thor sat on his raised chair looking down at the humans with barely concealed contempt. So, Vex Thor said, his voice booming through the chamber. The myths become flesh. Welcome to Nexus Prime, humans. You have requested an audience. Speak quickly. We have important matters to attend to after this entertainment. Ambassador Tae-young stepped forward, head held high, ready to speak words that would change the galaxy forever. Ambassador Tae-young stood in the center of the Grand Hall, surrounded by thousands of alien beings who viewed him with curiosity and contempt. The weight of the moment pressed on his shoulders, but years of diplomatic training kept his voice steady and clear. Honored members of the Galactic Council, he began, I am Ambassador Tae-young of the Terran Union. We come before you not as supplicants, but as equals seeking recognition among the civilized species of the galaxy. Laughter erupted from several sections of the chamber. Vex Thor allowed it to continue for several seconds before raising his hand for silence. Equals? The reptilian leader said with obvious amusement. You arrive in a single crude vessel made of compressed metals. Your people have barely ventured beyond your own star system, yet you claim equality with civilizations that have explored the cosmos for millennia. Technology alone does not define civilization, Tae-young replied calmly. We have brought gifts to demonstrate our culture and capabilities. He gestured to Dr. Ji-won, who stepped forward with her data tablets. Ji-won activated the first tablet, projecting a hologram of human art into the air above them. Paintings from Earth's long history rotated slowly. The Mona Lisa, the Great Wave, the Starry Night. Music began to play, a symphony that blended traditional and modern human composition. Some delegates leaned forward with interest. The art was undeniably sophisticated, showing emotional depth and technical skill. But Vexthor waved his hand dismissively. Pretty pictures and pleasant sounds. Many species create such things. This proves nothing. Then perhaps this will interest you more, Ji-won said, switching to scientific data. Complex equations appeared in the air, showing human understanding of quantum mechanics, genetic engineering, and stellar cartography. These are examples of our scientific achievements. A delegate from the Telluran species examined the equations carefully. These are correct, she admitted with surprise. The approaches are unusual, but the mathematics is sound. How did you develop quantum theory without access to element 943? That element is considered essential for such research. We found alternative methods, Ji-won explained. Element 943 does not exist naturally on our world. We had to develop our theories using only the materials available to us. Murmurs spread through the chamber again. Working around resource limitations showed innovative thinking. Still, Vexthor seemed unimpressed. Clever problem-solving for primitives, he said. But you still have not explained how you survived on the death world we surveyed. Our records clearly state that your planet is hostile to intelligent life. Ji-won smiled slightly. Your records are accurate. Earth is indeed hostile. That is precisely why we are here. Our world shaped us, made us strong and adaptable. Every human alive today is a descendant of survivors. She pulled up holographic displays of Earth. Images showed towering mountains, deep oceans, vast forests, and sprawling cities. Data scrolled beside each image listing environmental hazards. Earth's gravity is 40% above your standard. We grew strong lifting our own weight. Earth's atmosphere has high oxygen content. We developed superior endurance. Earth's weather patterns are violent and unpredictable. We learned to adapt and prepare for constant change. Impossible, Daleks interrupted, his mandibles clicking rapidly. No species could develop technology while constantly fighting for survival. Civilization requires stability and safety. Humanity had neither. Commander Hyunwoo spoke for the first time. His voice was quiet but carried authority. We built civilization despite our world, not because of it. Every human city has withstood earthquakes, storms, floods, and droughts. We learned to work together because alone we would die. And you fight each other constantly, another delegate observed, pulling up data on human history. Your records show thousands of wars. Species that cannot achieve internal peace are considered dangerous and unstable. We fought, Tae-young acknowledged. We will not deny our violent history. But through those struggles, we learned the true value of peace. Every war taught us lessons. Every conflict pushed us to innovate and improve. We do not celebrate our wars, but we do not hide from them either. They are part of what made us who we are. Vexthor leaned forward on his chair. This council has maintained galactic peace for 6,000 standard years. We achieved this through superior technology, coordinated military might, and diplomatic wisdom. You admit to being warlike primitives from a hostile world. Why should we grant you recognition? What could you possibly offer us? Ambassador Tae-young met the reptilian's gaze without flinching. We offer a different perspective. Your civilization has grown comfortable and predictable. You follow established patterns because they have worked for millennia. But the universe changes constantly. New threats emerge. Old enemies return. When that happens, you will need allies who think differently, who can adapt and overcome rather than simply following programmed responses. Arrogant words from a species we could crush without effort, Daleks growled. Perhaps you need a demonstration of your place in the galactic order. I challenge you to prove your supposed capabilities. Solve a problem that our best minds require days to complete. Dr. Young-ho stepped forward before Tae-young could respond. The physicist had remained quiet until now, observing and calculating. I accept your challenge, he said simply. Dalek seemed pleased. He pulled up a complex holographic display showing quantum entanglement equations. This is a standard problem given to advanced students in council academies. It typically requires our most powerful computers to solve. You have 30 minutes. Young-ho studied the problem for 60 seconds in silence. His eyes tracked the equations, his mind working through multiple approaches simultaneously. Then he began speaking, walking through the solution step by step. His hands manipulated the hologram, rearranging formulas and simplifying complex expressions. 15 minutes later, he finished. The answer is 17.632, with a margin of error of 0.001. The optimal approach uses reverse phase entanglement rather than direct particle alignment. A computer verified his solution instantly. Correct. Several delegates sat up straight, impressed despite themselves. Dalek's mandibles hung open in shock. You solved that mentally? Without computational assistance? Human brains process information differently than most species, Young-ho explained. We excel at pattern recognition and intuitive leaps. What you call computational power, we call imagination. Lucky guess, Vexthor declared, though doubt crept into his voice. One problem proves nothing. Give me another, Young-ho challenged. Give me 10. I will solve them all. That will not be necessary, Vexthor said quickly, unwilling to risk further embarrassment. Your mental capabilities are noted but do not change our decision. The Galactic Council sees no reason to grant recognition to the Terran Union at this time. You are welcome to reapply in 50 standard years after you have achieved more measurable advancement. 50 years? Ji-won protested. You are dismissing us without proper consideration. The Council has spoken, Vexthor said with finality. He stood from his chair, signaling the end of the audience. You may remain on Nexus Prime for 1 standard day to resupply your vessel. After that, you will return to your home system. Any attempt to establish unauthorized colonies or stations in Council space will be considered an act of aggression. Commander Hyun-woo's jaw tightened, but he remained silent. His combat instinct screamed warnings. This situation could escalate quickly if handled poorly. He caught Tae-young's eye and gave a subtle nod. It was time to leave before things got worse. The human delegation turned to exit the chamber. Other delegates began filing out as well, returning to their duties and dismissing the humans from their thoughts. Just another minor species seeking recognition they had not earned. The galaxy was full of such ambitious civilizations. Then the alarms began. A deafening siren echoed through Nexus Prime. Red warning lights flashed across every surface. Automated voices announced in multiple languages, "Emergency. All personnel to combat stations. Emergency. Hostile fleet detected approaching station." The orderly exit turned into controlled chaos. Delegates rushed toward designated emergency areas. Security forces mobilized with practiced efficiency. Commander Hyun-woo immediately grabbed Ji-won and Young-ho, pulling them toward a wall where they would be out of the way. Vexthor stood frozen at his podium, staring at tactical displays that had appeared automatically. His scales lost their golden shimmer, turning a sickly gray color. No, he whispered. It cannot be. Daleks accessed military channels through his neural implant. His entire body went rigid. Dravix, he said, his voice barely audible. The Dravix swarm has returned. The word spread like wildfire through the chamber. Dravix, the ancient enemy. The civilization destroyers, they were supposed to be extinct, defeated 3,000 years ago in a costly war that had united the 15 council species. Apparently they were not extinct. Ambassador Tae-young pushed through the panicking crowd toward Vexthor. What is the Dravix? He demanded. Vexthor finally looked at him, and for the first time the arrogant reptilian showed genuine fear. Death, he said simply. The Dravix are death incarnate. They consume entire civilizations, absorbing technology and resources before moving to the next target. We thought we had destroyed them. We were wrong. How many ships? Hyun-woo asked, his military training taking over. A Tilleran officer checked her displays. Long-range sensors show over 5,000 vessels. Each one is the size of a small moon. And how many ships does the council have here? Hyun-woo pressed. 800, the officer admitted. Maybe 900 if we count support vessels. The numbers were devastating. The Dravix outnumbered them 6-1 at minimum. Hyun-woo could see defeat written across every alien face in the chamber. They had no hope of winning this battle. but humans had faced impossible odds before and survived. "Ambassador," Hyunwoo said quietly, "request another audience with the council, immediately." Tae-young understood instantly. "Council Leader Vexthor," he called out. "The Terran Union wishes to offer assistance in defending Nexus Prime." Nexus Prime shuddered as the Dravik swarm emerged from dark space. The massive ships materialized in perfect formation, surrounding the station like predators circling wounded prey. Each vessel looked organic, covered in dark armor that seemed to absorb light. Weapon ports opened along their hulls like hungry mouths. In the Council's emergency command center, military leaders from all 15 species gathered around a holographic tactical display. The scale of the Dravik's force was overwhelming. Red icons outnumbered blue by a devastating margin. Mathematical projections calculated survival odds at less than 3%. Vexthor stood at the center of the room, his scales still showing fear gray. Beside him, Daleks coordinated with various fleet commanders. The insectoid warrior had dropped all his earlier arrogance. This was a fight for survival, and everyone knew it. "We have 3 standard cycles before they attack," announced a Kreeth admiral. "They are following their traditional pattern. They always give their targets time to evacuate civilians. They want military targets, not refugees." "How generous," muttered a Tilleran captain sarcastically. "They let us run before they destroy everything we built." "We are not running," Vexthor said firmly, though his voice shook slightly. "We are the Galactic Council. This station represents 6,000 years of peace and cooperation. We will defend it. With what?" Daleks demanded. "Our combined fleet is outnumbered and outgunned. Their ships have regenerating armor that repairs damage faster than we can inflict it. Their weapons can disable our shields in seconds. We barely defeated them 3,000 years ago, when we had twice as many ships and the element of surprise." "Then we evacuate," said another delegate. "We save who we can and rebuild elsewhere. If we abandon Nexus Prime, the Draviks will hunt us across the galaxy," Vexthor replied. "They never stop. They will pursue every fleeing ship, track every refugee convoy, and destroy every colony world. Our only choice is to make our stand here and now." The doors to the command center opened. Ambassador Tae-young entered, followed by Commander Hyunwoo, Captain Subin, and Dr. Ji-wan. Security had tried to stop them, but the humans had insisted on speaking with council leadership. Given the desperate situation, the guards had allowed them through. "What are you doing here?" Vexthor demanded. "This is a military crisis. Civilians need to evacuate." "We are not evacuating," Tae-young said calmly. "The Terran Union offers its assistance in defending the station." Silence filled the command center. Then laughter, bitter and hopeless. Daleks turned to face the humans. "You were in this very chamber 3 hours ago, being rejected and dismissed. Now you offer to help us? Why?" "Because it is the right thing to do," Captain Subin answered. She was a compact woman with sharp eyes and a confident stance. "You need help. We can provide it. The reasons are that simple. You have 1 small ship," a Kreeth admiral pointed out. "What possible difference could you make against 5,000 Dravik's vessels?" Commander Hyunwoo stepped forward and pulled up his own tactical display. The humans had been scanning the Dravik's formation since the moment they arrived. "Your forces fight in predictable patterns," he said bluntly. "You form defensive spheres and maintain optimal firing positions. You calculate ideal responses to enemy movements. The Draviks have adapted to these tactics over thousands of years. They know exactly how you will respond to any situation." "And you fight differently?" Daleks asked skeptically. "Humanity learned warfare through 10,000 years of conflict," Hyunwoo replied. "We fought each other on a hostile world where there were no optimal solutions. We learned to be unpredictable, creative, and relentless. We learned to fight when logic says we should surrender." "You learned to be desperate and reckless," Vexthor said dismissively. "That is not a military advantage." Captain Subin smiled coldly. "Desperation and recklessness win battles when used correctly. We have analyzed the Dravik's formation. Their shield harmonics operate on rotating frequencies. There are gaps in their coverage that last 0.03 seconds during each rotation. Their communication network uses quantum entanglement, which we can disrupt. Their ships are large and powerful but slow to maneuver. They rely on overwhelming force rather than tactical flexibility." She pulled up detailed scans showing the vulnerabilities she described. The council officers examined the data with growing surprise. The humans had identified weaknesses that the council's computers had missed. How did you gather this much intelligence so quickly? Attila and Captain asked. We are always watching and learning, Hyunwoo said. That is what survivors do. Dr. Jiwon added her own analysis. The Draviks are a hive mind. Every ship is connected to a central coordinator. They share information instantly and adapt quickly to new threats. But hive minds have a weakness. If you disrupt their communication, they lose coordination. Individual ships become confused and vulnerable. We know this, Dalek said. But their communication network is quantum-based and encrypted with mathematics we cannot break. We have tried jamming them before. It does not work. Because you tried to jam them, Dr. Young-ho said. The physicist had been working on his data tablet while the others talked. Jamming is blunt force. We need to be surgical. I can create a virus that will infiltrate their network and introduce false data. They will receive conflicting orders and attack each other. Impossible, declared a Kreeth admiral. Our best programmers have tried such approaches for millennia. Quantum systems are too complex to hack. Your programmers think like you, Young-ho replied, logically and systematically. Human programmers think creatively. We find solutions that should not work but do anyway. Give me access to your system data on the Draviks and I will have a virus ready before they attack. Vexthor stared at the humans for a long moment. Every instinct told him to refuse their help. They were primitives from a death world who had been rejected by the Council hours ago. But desperation made strange allies. The Draviks would arrive in less than 3 cycles, and the Council had no plan that led to victory. Very well, Vexthor said finally. I grant the Terran Union temporary military alliance status. You will coordinate with our forces, but know this, humans. If your tactics fail and lead to unnecessary deaths, I will hold you personally responsible. Understood, Tae-young replied. We accept that responsibility. Captain Subin immediately began coordinating with Council fleet commanders. She proposed a battle plan that made several admirals uncomfortable. Instead of forming defensive positions around Nexus Prime, she wanted to send strike forces directly into the Draviks formation. Small, fast ships would exploit the shield gaps while larger vessels provided covering fire. It was aggressive and risky. You will lose ships using these tactics, Attila and Captain warned. Many ships. We will lose everything if we fight defensively, Subin countered. The Draviks expect you to defend. Surprise them by attacking. Dalek studied the proposed formations. His military experience recognized the logic, even if it violated every doctrine he had learned. This is madness, he said slowly. But it might work. What about your ship? The Aegis is too small to engage Dravik's vessels directly. The Aegis will lead the first strike, Captain Subin said calmly. We will demonstrate the tactics for your forces to follow. You are volunteering for a suicide mission, Dalek stated bluntly. We are volunteering to do what must be done, Subin corrected. There is a difference. Commander Hyunwoo was already planning his own role in the battle. I need authorization to board a Dravik ship, he said. My team will plant Dr. Young-ho's virus directly into their network. That is definitely a suicide mission, Vexthor said. Dravik ships are filled with warrior drones. No one has ever successfully boarded one and survived. Then we will be the first, Hyunwoo replied simply. Do I have authorization? Vexthor looked at the human commander. The man showed no fear, no hesitation, only calm determination. You truly believe you can succeed? Belief does not matter, Hyunwoo said. I will succeed because I must. That is what humans do. We accomplish impossible tasks because the alternative is unacceptable. Then you have authorization, Vexthor agreed. May your gods protect you. We do not rely on gods, Hyunwoo said. We rely on training, teamwork, and determination. The next 2 cycles passed in frantic preparation. Human tactical doctrine spread through the Council fleet. Ship captains studied the aggressive maneuvers that Captain Subin proposed. Soldiers and security forces learned about human close-quarters combat techniques from instructional videos that Commander Hyunwoo provided. Dr. Young-ho worked around the clock with Council programmers, creating a virus designed to cripple the Dravik's hive mind. During this time, something unexpected happened. Council personnel began to view the humans differently. The small delegation that had been mocked and dismissed now worked alongside them as equals. The humans shared knowledge freely, asking nothing in return except the chance to fight. They offered tactical advice without arrogance, and accepted criticism without defensiveness. A young Tilaran pilot named Rinesh found herself assigned to fly wing with the Aegis during the first strike. She approached Captain Subin nervously during a planning session. "Captain, I must ask, why are you doing this? The council rejected your petition. We were rude and dismissive. You owe us nothing." Subin looked at the young pilot thoughtfully. "You are correct that we owe you nothing, but that is not how humanity operates. We help because helping is right. Today you are strangers. Tomorrow you might be friends. And humans protect their friends. Even if it costs you your life?" Rinesh asked quietly. "Especially then," Subin replied. "Life has meaning when we use it to protect others. Death has meaning when we die for something greater than ourselves. Humans understand this deeply because we have lost so many throughout our history. We honor our dead by living according to their sacrifices." Rinesh felt tears form in her eyes. Her species rarely cried, but the human's words moved her deeply. "I will fly well beside you, Captain. I promise." "I know you will," Subin said with a warm smile. The final countdown began. 3 hours, 2 hours, 1 hour. Ships moved into position. Weapons powered up. Shields reached maximum strength. In the Council Command Center, Vex Thor watched tactical displays with resignation on his face. He had accepted human help because he had no choice, but he still doubted they could make a real difference. Commander Hyunwoo stood in the Aegis hangar bay, checking his combat armor one final time. Around him, 20 human soldiers did the same. They would board a small assault craft and penetrate the Dravik's formation. If they succeeded in planting the virus, the battle might be won. If they failed, everyone would die. "Commander," said one of his soldiers, a young man named Dongmin, "are you afraid?" Hyunwoo considered the question carefully. "Yes," he admitted. "Fear keeps us alert and careful. But I do not let fear control me. I control it and use it as fuel." "How do we know we will succeed?" another soldier asked. "We do not know," Hyunwoo said honestly. "But we prepare as if success is certain. We fight as if victory is inevitable, and we never ever surrender. That is the human way." 15 minutes before the Draviks attacked, a transmission reached Nexus Prime. The voice spoke in multiple languages simultaneously, cold and emotionless. "Galactic Council, you will surrender this station and all military vessels. Comply and we will allow civilian evacuation. Resist and we will destroy everything. You have 60 seconds to respond." Vex Thor opened a transmission channel. His voice was steady now, fear replaced by determination. "Dravik swarm. The Galactic Council does not surrender. We will defend this station with every resource at our disposal. If you want Nexus Prime, you will have to take it from us." "So be it," the Draviks responded. "Your extinction begins now." The first Dravik's wave struck with devastating precision. Energy beams the color of sickly green tore through Council defensive formations. 3 ships exploded in the opening seconds, their shields unable to withstand the concentrated fire. Alarms screamed across every vessel as the battle began. "All ships maintain formation," ordered Admiral Kresh, the Kreeth fleet commander. "Focus fire on their lead vessels." Standard defensive pattern Alpha. But the Draviks had fought the Council before. They knew every defensive pattern, every tactical response. Dravik ships moved to counter positions with mechanical efficiency. Council vessels found themselves outmaneuvered and surrounded before they could properly react. 30 ships gone in the first 2 minutes. The mathematical projections were proving accurate. At this rate, the Council fleet would be destroyed in less than an hour. Then Captain Subin opened her communication channel. "All Strike Force vessels, this is Aegis. Break formation and follow my lead. Execute attack pattern Chaos 1. The Council captains hesitated. Everything in their training said to maintain formation and coordinate fire. But they had agreed to follow human tactics. The decision required trust they barely possessed. "Do it," Vex Thor commanded from the command center. "Follow the humans." The Aegis accelerated forward at speeds that should have torn the ship apart. Its compact design and reinforced hull allowed maneuvers that larger vessels could never match. Behind it, 47 other ships broke from defensive positions and charged directly into the Dravik's formation. The Draviks adapted instantly, redirecting fire toward this new threat. But the human ships were not where the Draviks expected them to be. Subin led them in a spiral pattern, constantly changing velocity and direction. The formation looked chaotic and disorganized. It was anything but. Target the shield gaps, Subin ordered over the strike force channel. Timing is critical. Fire on my mark. 3, 2, 1 mark. Kinetic rounds and energy beams struck Dravik shields at the exact moment of rotation. The .03-second gaps allowed the attacks to penetrate. Dravik's armor cracked and burned. One ship lost engine power and began drifting. Again, Subin commanded. Maintain the spiral. Do not establish patterns. Randomize your firing solutions. This was the essence of human tactics. Unpredictability. Chaos controlled by skill and instinct rather than computer calculations. The Dravik's hive mind struggled to predict movements that followed no mathematical logic. Lieutenant Minji piloted the Aegis with fierce concentration. She had trained her entire life for moments like this, but nothing prepared her for the reality of combat. Dravik's weapons fired continuously, forcing her to make split-second decisions. Her hands danced across the controls, executing maneuvers that existed only in her imagination. Captain, the Tilleran ship Rinesh is flying wing with us, Minji reported. She is matching our movements perfectly. Subin allowed herself a small smile. The young pilot had courage. Good. Signal her to break left on my mark and target that command vessel's forward shield. The coordinated attack worked. Rinesh's ship and the Aegis struck simultaneously, overwhelming the Dravik's vessel's defenses. Secondary explosions rippled across its hull. It was not destroyed, but it was damaged and falling out of formation. Across the battlefield, other council ships began to understand. They stopped following predictable patterns and started improvising. A Kreeth cruiser executed a move its designers never intended, flipping end over end while maintaining fire. A Tilleran destroyer used Nexus Prime's gravity well to slingshot past 3 Dravik ships, raking them with weapons fire as it passed. But the Draviks had numbers on their side. For every enemy ship damaged, 3 more moved into position. The Council was still losing ships faster than they could inflict casualties. In the command center, Vexthor watched the battle with growing despair. We are doing better than predicted, but it is not enough. We cannot win through attrition. Then we change the equation, said Commander Hyunwoo, who had been monitoring communications while preparing his boarding team. It is time for the virus. My team is launching now. A small assault craft detached from the Aegis, so tiny it barely registered on sensors. Inside, Hyunwoo and his 20 soldiers sat in cramped seats, weapons ready. The craft's single pilot, a soldier named Jae-sung, navigated through the chaos of battle with skill born from hundreds of training simulations. Commander, multiple Dravik's fighters are targeting us, Jae-sung announced calmly. I cannot evade them all. You do not need to evade them all, Hyunwoo replied. Just enough. Get us to the target. The assault craft twisted and turned, its small size making it difficult to hit but also extremely vulnerable. One shot would destroy them. Jae-sung pushed the engines beyond their rated capacity, coaxing every bit of speed from the overtaxed systems. A Dravik's fighter locked weapons on them. Hyunwoo watched the tactical display with forced calm. There was nothing he could do but trust his pilot. The shot fired. Jae-sung jerked the craft sideways at the last instant. The energy beam passed so close that it scorched their hull. Still alive, Jae-sung said with grim humor. Approaching the target. Brace for impact. The Dravik's command carrier loomed ahead, a massive ship that served as a communication hub for hundreds of smaller vessels. Jae-sung aimed directly at its hangar bay, firing breaching rockets seconds before impact. The explosions tore open a small hole in the Dravik's armor. The assault craft crashed through the opening and skidded across the hangar floor, tearing metal and throwing sparks. The soldiers were thrown against their restraints. The craft's systems failed, plunging them into darkness. Everyone out now, Hyunwoo ordered. His voice was steady despite the pain shooting through his ribs. Secure the perimeter. The soldiers moved with practiced efficiency. Hatches blew open. Armed humans poured into the Dravik ship. Within seconds, they established a defensive position around the wrecked assault craft. Dravik's warriors responded immediately. They were biomechanical creatures, part organic and part machine. Each one stood 3 meters tall with multiple limbs ending in various weapons. They moved with inhuman speed and showed no fear. But they had never fought humans before. The first Dravik's warrior charged toward the human position, its weapons firing. Human soldiers scattered, using the crashed craft and hangar equipment for cover. They returned fire with precision, targeting joints and weak points that their briefing had identified. One Dravik's fell, then another, but more kept coming. Grenades, Yunwoo commanded. Soldiers tossed small explosive devices that detonated in bright flashes. The Dravix warriors stumbled, their sensors overwhelmed by the sudden light and noise. Human soldiers advanced during the confusion, firing at close range. This was the kind of fighting that humans had perfected over millennia. Close quarters, brutal, chaotic. The Dravix were stronger and tougher, but humans were more adaptable and worked better as a team. Every soldier knew their role and trusted their companions completely. "Clear a path to the central processing core," Hyunwoo ordered. He checked his tactical display, memorizing the route that Dr. Young-ho had provided. "We have 15 minutes before their security systems adapt to our presence. Move fast." The humans fought through corridor after corridor. Dravix warriors attacked from multiple directions. The soldiers used every advantage they could find. They turned off gravity in sections, making the heavy Dravix warriors helpless while humans adapted quickly. They hacked door controls, trapping enemies in sealed compartments. They used the ship's own ventilation system to spread disorienting gas. Soldier Dongmin took a hit protecting his commander. The Dravix energy weapon burned through his armor and he fell. Another soldier, Haewon, dragged him behind cover while continuing to fire one-handed. "Leave me," Dongmin gasped. "Complete the mission." "No soldier left behind," Haewon replied firmly. "That is our rule." They reached the central processing core after 12 minutes of intense fighting. The room was massive, filled with quantum computers and communication arrays that pulsed with alien energy. Dr. Young-ho's virus was stored in a portable drive that Hyunwoo carried. "Cover me," Hyunwoo ordered. He approached the central console, studying its alien interface. Young-ho had taught him the basic principles, but adapting them in real time required intuition and luck. Dravix warriors poured into the room. The human soldiers formed a circle around their commander, firing in all directions. Their ammunition was running low. Several soldiers were wounded, but they held their ground. Hyunwoo's hands moved across the alien controls. He found the access port that Young-ho had described. The drive connected. Data began transferring. The virus entered the Dravix network. "It is working," Hyunwoo announced. 30 seconds until full deployment. Those 30 seconds lasted forever. The soldiers fought with everything they had. When their ammunition ran out, they used knives and improvised weapons. When those broke, they used their fists. The Dravix kept coming, but humans kept fighting. The virus deployed. Across the battlefield, every Dravix ship suddenly froze. The hive mind connection fractured as false orders flooded their communication network. Ships that had been coordinating perfectly began receiving conflicting commands. Some turned their weapons on allies. Others attempted to flee. The entire formation dissolved into chaos. "All forces, attack now!" Vexthor ordered over the council channel. "Target the confused vessels. Do not give them time to adapt." Council ships, exhausted and damaged but still fighting, pressed their advantage. They targeted the disorganized Dravix vessels with renewed intensity. Ships that had been working together minutes ago now accidentally fired on each other, their targeting systems confused by the virus. Captain Subin led the strike force through the chaos, targeting command vessels and communication hubs. Each ship they destroyed made it harder for the Dravix to recover from the virus. The tide of battle shifted dramatically. On the Dravix carrier, the central processing core began to overload. Warning lights flashed. The ship's automated systems detected the virus and attempted to purge it by shutting down entirely. "Time to go," Hyunwoo said. "Fall back to the hangar." The soldiers retreated, carrying their wounded. The Dravix warriors had stopped attacking, confused by the loss of hive mind coordination. Individual drones did not know what to do without orders. They reached the hangar to find their assault craft completely destroyed. There was no way out. "Well," Jae-sung said with dark humor, "we accomplished the mission. That counts for something." "We are not done yet," Hyunwoo said. He opened a communication channel. "Captain Subin, we need emergency extraction from Dravix Carrier 7. Can you reach us?" "Negative," Subin replied. "The Dravix have adapted to the virus. They are regaining coordination. I cannot break through their defensive screen." "Then we will make our own extraction," Hyunwoo decided. He turned to his soldiers. "Who knows how to fly a Dravix fighter?" Several hands went up. Humans had studied every piece of alien technology they could find. "Good," Hyunwoo said. "We steal one and fly it home." It was an insane plan. It was also the only option they had. and humans had built a civilization on insane plans that somehow worked. The stolen Dravix fighter limped through the debris field surrounding Nexus Prime. Its stolen identification codes kept it from being shot by either side, though several council ships tracked it suspiciously. Inside the cramped cockpit, Commander Hyunwoo piloted the unfamiliar craft while his surviving soldiers tended to their wounded. They had lost 3 soldiers during the boarding action. Dongmin had died from his injuries despite his comrades' efforts. 2 others had fallen during the desperate fight at the processing core. Hyunwoo felt each loss like a physical wound, but he kept his expression neutral. There would be time to grieve later. Now he needed to get his people home. "Aegis, this is Commander Hyunwoo requesting docking clearance," he transmitted. Captain Subin's voice responded immediately, filled with relief. "Clearance granted. Bay 3 is open. It is good to hear your voice, Commander." The Dravix swarm was in full retreat. The virus had crippled their coordination, and the Council forces had exploited every opening. Over 4,000 Dravix vessels had been destroyed or captured. The remaining ships fled into dark space, abandoning their attack. The battle was won, but victory came at a terrible cost. The Council had lost over 300 ships. Thousands of crew members were dead or wounded. Nexus Prime itself had suffered massive damage. Entire sections were exposed to space, and fires still burned in multiple decks. In the command center, Vexthor surveyed the damage reports with a mixture of grief and disbelief. They had survived. Against impossible odds, they had actually survived. And they owed that survival to the humans they had mocked and dismissed just hours earlier. "Council leader," said Daleks quietly, "the human delegation requests an audience." Vexthor straightened his posture. "Bring them here immediately. They have earned the right to speak to this council." Ambassador Tae-young entered the command center looking exhausted. His formal suit was dusty and torn from helping with evacuation efforts during the battle. Dr. Ji-won and Dr. Young-ho followed him, both showing signs of the long hours they had worked. Behind them came Commander Hyunwoo, his combat armor scorched and dented. The command center fell silent. Every delegate, every officer, every person present understood what was about to happen. History was being written in this moment. Vexthor stepped down from his command platform and approached the humans. For a long moment he simply looked at them. Then slowly and deliberately he lowered his head in a gesture of deep respect that his species reserved for honored equals. "Ambassador Tae-young," Vexthor said, his voice carrying through the silent room, "the Galactic Council owes humanity an apology, and a debt that can never be fully repaid. You offered us friendship and we responded with contempt. You offered assistance and we responded with doubt. Yet when the moment came, you fought for us anyway. You risked your lives to save strangers who had treated you poorly. There are no words adequate to express our gratitude." Tae-young bowed in return. "We did what needed to be done. That is all." "No," Vexthor said firmly. "You did far more than that. You proved that humanity possesses something we had forgotten in our 6,000 years of peace. You possess the will to fight when all logic says fighting is hopeless. You possess the courage to face impossible odds without hesitation, and you possess the compassion to help those who have wronged you." Dalek stepped forward. The warrior looked different now. The arrogance was gone, replaced by genuine respect. "Commander Hyunwoo," he said, "I challenged you earlier, claiming that you needed to prove your worth. You have proven far more than I asked. You and your soldiers accomplished what our best warriors thought impossible. You boarded a Dravix carrier and survived. How many did you lose?" "3, Hyunwoo replied quietly. "Soldiers Dongmin, Ilsung, and Kyung-hee. They gave their lives so that others could live. We will remember them always. So will we," Daleks promised. "I request permission to speak at their memorial service. I wish to honor their sacrifice personally." Hyunwoo looked surprised but nodded. "They would be honored by your presence." The council held an emergency session the next day. The Grand Hall was still damaged, but repairs had progressed enough to make it functional. This time, when the human delegation entered, they were greeted with applause. Thousands of delegates rose to their feet, honoring the species that had saved them. Ambassador Tae-young took his place at the center podium. He had prepared a speech, but looking at the assembled delegates, he decided to speak from his heart instead. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," he began, "Dr. Ji-won has prepared a presentation about humanity that will answer many of your questions. But first I want to address something more important. Yesterday you saw humans fight. Today I want to explain why we fight the way we do. The holographic displays activated, showing images of Earth. Beautiful landscapes contrasted with scenes of natural disasters. Peaceful cities stood beside historical battlefields. The story of humanity played out in pictures and data. You were correct when you called Earth a death world, Tae-young continued. Our planet tried to kill us every single day. Predators hunted our ancestors. Diseases ravaged our populations. Earthquakes destroyed our cities. Storms leveled our homes. Ice ages forced us to adapt or die. We survived not because we were the strongest or the fastest, but because we were the most stubborn. Dr. Ji-won took over the presentation. Human evolution is unique in many ways. Our bodies adapted to Earth's high gravity, making us stronger than most species. Our lungs evolved to process our oxygen-rich atmosphere, giving us superior endurance. But our greatest adaptation was mental, not physical. Images showed human brain structures compared to other species. The differences were significant. The human brain is wired differently, Ji-won explained. Most intelligent species evolved to find optimal solutions to problems. Efficiency and logic guided their development. Humans evolved to find any solution, even imperfect ones. We call it creativity, but it is really a survival trait. When the optimal path was blocked, we found another way. When logic failed, we relied on intuition and imagination. Dr. Young-ho added his own analysis. This is why I could solve your mathematical problems so quickly. I did not calculate the optimal solution. I imagined multiple possible solutions and tested them mentally until I found one that worked. It is less efficient but more flexible. When facing unknown problems, flexibility matters more than efficiency. Captain Subin explained the military implications. Your forces fight using algorithms and optimal tactics. The Draviks adapted to those tactics over thousands of years. We fight using chaos and unpredictability. Every battle is different. Every pilot makes their own decisions based on instinct and experience. We cannot be predicted because we do not follow patterns. This makes us extremely effective against enemies who rely on calculating responses. Commander Hyun-woo spoke last. There is one more thing you should understand about humans. We evolved as pack hunters. We are social creatures who depend on teamwork for survival. Every human soldier knows that their companions will never abandon them. We trust each other completely. This allows us to take risks that individuals would never attempt alone. When I led my team onto that Draviks carrier, I knew they would follow me. Not because they were ordered to, but because that is what humans do for each other. The presentations concluded. The council sat in thoughtful silence, processing everything they had learned. Finally, a young Teloran delegate named Rinesh stood to speak. She was the pilot who had flown wing with Captain Subin during the battle. I have a question, Rinesh said nervously. Captain Subin told me that humans help because it is the right thing to do. But your history shows constant warfare between your own people. How can a species that fights itself so frequently also be so willing to help strangers? Tae-young smiled at the question. That is an excellent question, and the answer reveals humanity's greatest strength. Yes, we fought each other throughout our history, terrible wars that caused immense suffering. But through those wars, we learned the true value of peace. We learned that cooperation is always better than conflict. We learned that strangers can become friends and former enemies can become allies. Every war taught us lessons and we grew wiser with each one. We are not naturally peaceful, Commander Hyun-woo added. We are naturally protective. We protect our families, our friends, our communities. The circle of who we protect keeps growing. First our tribe, then our nation, then our planet. Now we extend that protection to the galaxy. You were strangers yesterday. Today you are allies. Tomorrow you will be friends. And humans will die to protect their friends. Vexthor stood from his chair. The Galactic Council calls for a formal vote. All in favor of granting humanity full recognition and a permanent seat on this council, make your position known. The vote was unanimous. Every single delegate voted yes, not just because humanity had saved them, but because they recognized something valuable in human nature, something that the council had lost during their 6,000 years of peace and stability. Furthermore, Vexthor continued, I propose the establishment of the Human Military Advisory Corps. We need human officers to train our forces in unconventional warfare. We need human engineers to help us adapt our technology for greater flexibility. We need human diplomats to teach us about courage and determination. Does anyone oppose this proposal? Silence, then Dalek stood. I wish to be the first volunteer for human military training. I fought against you once. I wish to learn to fight beside you now." Other volunteers followed, young officers from multiple species, eager to learn from humanity. It was the beginning of a new era for the Galactic Council. 6 months passed. The damage to Nexus Prime was repaired with human help. Earth sent more ships and personnel to participate in galactic affairs. Human colonies began spreading to worlds previously considered too hostile for habitation. If humans could survive Earth, they could survive anywhere. In the Grand Hall, Ambassador Tae-young attended his first regular council session as a full member. Delegates sought his advice on various matters: trade agreements, cultural exchanges, defensive strategies. Humanity had become an integral part of galactic civilization. After the session ended, a young Kreeth cadet approached Tae-young shyly. "Ambassador, may I ask you something?" "Of course," Tae-young replied warmly. "Everyone talks about humanity's strength and courage. But what is your true power? What makes humans special?" Tae-young thought carefully about his answer. "Our true power is not our strength or our technology or even our tactics. It is our refusal to accept defeat. When we face impossible odds, we do not surrender. We find a way forward, even if that way seems impossible. We believe that tomorrow can be better than today if we are willing to work and fight and sacrifice for it. That belief, that hope, that determination, that is what makes us human. That is our true power." The young cadet nodded thoughtfully. "I wish to train under Commander Hyun-woo. I want to learn how to be that determined." "Then you will," Tae-young assured him. "Determination can be taught. Courage can be learned. Hope can be shared. That is what humanity brings to the galaxy. Not just weapons and tactics, but the belief that we can always do better, be better, accomplish more." That evening, Tae-young stood alone in an observation deck, looking at Earth in the distance, the blue planet that had forged humanity through hardship and trial. He thought about the long journey that brought his species to this moment. From primitive ancestors fighting for survival, to respected members of a galactic community, a message arrived from Earth. Admiral Subin reported that a new colony ship was ready to launch. It would carry 10,000 families to a frontier world in the far reaches of Council space. A world that other species considered too dangerous but that humans would call home. Tae-young smiled. Humanity was spreading across the galaxy, bringing their gifts with them. Their technology would help other species. Their tactics would protect against future threats. Their culture would enrich galactic civilization. But most importantly, their spirit would inspire others. The Galactic Council had doubted humanity existed. They had mocked human origins and dismissed human offers of peace. But when darkness came in the form of the Dravik swarm, humanity had stood firm. Not for glory or conquest, but because it was right. Because strangers needed help. Because courage and compassion mattered more than pride or prejudice. Tae-young touched the window, his hand against the cold glass. Out there, somewhere in the vast galaxy, other species were learning what the Council had discovered. That humanity's true power was not in their weapons or their ships. It was in their unshakable belief that every problem had a solution, every challenge could be overcome, and every tomorrow offered hope. The age of human isolation was over. The era of galactic cooperation had begun, and somewhere out in the darkness the Dravik swarm was regrouping, plotting their return. But when they came back, they would face not just the Galactic Council, but a unified force inspired by human courage and trained in human tactics. The galaxy had changed forever, not through conquest or domination, but through sacrifice and friendship. Humanity had revealed its true power, and in doing so had made the entire galaxy stronger. And that was just the beginning.